Hi, it's Sari. I just wanted to hop on. I've just done my coaching call with my private group, my Best Life Academy Members Club, and I was just talking about an example that came up the other week, and I thought I'd just share it briefly on here because it only take me a couple of minutes, and I think it's quite a funny example. Um, so I went to get some bloods taken last week. And as I went in and sat down, like lots of people have phobias about needles and having blood taken. And yet they would really strongly believe that it's the needles or the blood, the sight of the blood that's creating that phobia, that it's those actual things that they're scared of. And this is a great example of one of the things in the group when I talk to people, and the whole purpose of my group is that you learn, keep exploring what it is that I'm teaching, and then we start to see examples of it everywhere in our daily life. And it's starting to see those examples that we would call insights that start to create the change very naturally. If we're really anxious or stressed or whatever it is, it's seeing these things working every single day of our lives that then start to get us to realize that what we believe to be true at the moment actually isn't. So anyway, so this nurse who was taking my bloods she was really lovely. But as soon as I sat down, she said, "Are you okay with having your bloods taken?" And I thought, "Oh, am I looking a bit nervous or something?" Because she was like really serious. I don't have a fear or phobia of having bloods taken. It doesn't bother me in the slightest. I don't believe that it hurts. Yeah, it scratches, but it's not something that bothers me. So like, yeah, no, I'm totally fine with it. And she's like, "Are you sure? Are you sure?" I'm like, yeah, I'm absolutely fine with it. And then she went on to tell me, you see, I do ask because I've got a phobia of having bloods taken. Now, this was a nurse in a clinic whose job it was to take people's bloods from the minute she got in till the minute she went home. It's not just something that she has to do every now and then. It is her job. It is her full-time permanent job, is taking bloods from people with needles. And yet she said, "I pass out if I have mine taken." And I was like, really? Like, how on earth do you do this job if you've got a phobia of needles and blood? And she said, "Oh, well, it's just different when it's me. I'm fine taking other people's bloods." And she's actually not perfectly fine because actually she was projecting her fears onto me, assuming that I would be somehow really scared of it. But anyway, she might not realise that. So it was funny and it made me laugh, but what it highlighted is something really crucial to us getting change in our lives with anxiety or stress or "Hi Vicky, I'm good, thank you." It's really one of like the really good insights that we have, that we really realise that everything we're experiencing is through thought. And that is what my manual is based on. That's what all my coaching is, my members club, everything is based on. And she just gave a great example of it. Because if it was the needles or the blood creating that reaction, then we would all feel the same. And yet she was a brilliant example of how needles and blood is terrible when it's our own, but it's a full-time job and it's completely fine when it's not. How on earth does that work? Well, the way it works is quite simply, she has a very different thought process about taking blood with needles with other people than she does about having blood taken and needles from herself. And so those thoughts that are very different about the exact same thing, different thoughts, different perception, create a very different experience. So different that one of them she can do all day long for her job, the other she dreads, avoids at all costs, and if she has to do it, she will often pass out. I was sat there thinking, did she say this on her interview? Like, how did she get this job? God. Actually, she was absolutely fine taking my blood. She was a really lovely woman, really nice. But I was just so baffled at the idea that she had a phobia and has passed out on numerous occasions having her own bloods taken. But I just loved it. And I wanted to share it because it's just a wonderful example of how our thoughts create our reality and our experience, and how we change them, we twist them, we adjust them to suit us, to suit our stories and our beliefs about ourselves, to the point where they become true. When actually that's a great example of how much bullshit it is, quite frankly, that she has a phobia of needles and blood because she does it for a job. She doesn't have a phobia of it. She just believes that she does. She believes that she is unable to experience it in the same way as someone else. But she doesn't blame anything but the needles and the blood. It's that she doesn't like them on her arm, and yet she does it to everyone else. So I just thought it was interesting, and I just thought it was a really good example of an insight. And so the more you learn about this stuff, the more you'll see it in everyday life, the more you will say, oh, okay, so someone, I think I've said it before, that in my private group, someone had a fear of small enclosed spaces and felt claustrophobic, whereas someone else has a fear of open spaces. So they both feel anxiety and worry and stress about those two things, but actually they're the absolute opposite. So it's nothing to do with the open space or the closed space, it's their thoughts and their perceptions about those things. So that's a really important thing to know if you are struggling with stress or anxiety, because in the same way as the blood or the open space or the closed spaces, your anxiety is also created through your thinking. Your feelings of anxiety through your anxious thoughts. So I wanted to share that with you, just because I thought, one, that it's quite funny, and actually it's a really good example of how it works. So yeah, so I'm going to leave that there because I am shattered now, and I'm all coached out, and I'm going to go and chill. So I'll speak to you all very, very soon. Bye for now.